Today, we take you back in history to 1940 when Malin Prokopovits built the Pulaski Theater building. He leased the building to Mrs. Dora Ziem, who had years of experience in theater management, operating it as the Pulaski Theater. It was noted that Mrs. Ziem provided the highest quality equipment, which helped provide sharp, vivid pictures. Enjoy listening to the memories of the theater from two siblings whose father was the projectionist for the theater for many years.
I was born across the street from them. A few months later, we moved to the cheese factory out in the country.
I grew up, well, I don't know if I was born at home or in the hospital, but Dad had a cheese factory out on 160. It was Northern Cheese Factory at the time. And Steinhardt from Shauna owned it. And we lived in it. And we had a small grocery store. We had, Reimer's Meat used to stop. Mr. Welgus, the Welguses on 160 right out of town. He was the man who brought the bakery truck around, sold Mom bread and whatever.
And my dad would run the projection machine. He was a projectionist. He would work from Tuesday to Sunday. He never did the matinees on Sunday. He just did the evenings.
Well, Daddy was still running a projector. The only movie or time he didn't work was when Sunday afternoon. Remember Piney Pulaski? He worked Sunday afternoons. He ran the projector. And if Daddy went deer hunting, then Piney, and I think Mr. Poplinski could run them too. Well, first I'll tell you what the inside of the theater was like. You walked in, and then you bought your popcorn. You went through double doors, and there was like this alleyway. The men went upstairs for the bathroom, and the ladies was around the corner. And then you went through some more. There were no doors, but like a arch. There were two arches. Then upstairs, Daddy had his projectionist and projectors and stuff, and there were three kind of windows where the machines ran. And once in a while, when he wasn't using one, he'd hang over. And if my older sister and I were with a boy, we sat and you went to the movie. Well, we could only hold hands, because if there was he knew if the boy put his arm around us, you couldn't get away with anything in the theater.
When you walked in on the right, there was a booth where the people came and got tickets and walked in. They could walk in on the left and the right. There were two sets of doors. They had, was it four? I think four seats in a row on the left and on the right. And it was kind of like a V. And as you got down to the bottom, there were only two or three people that could sit down in the first seat. But I never went that far because I hated looking up like this.
And then the nuns, they'd go through the movies, and the ones that were B, they'd put a B by it. That meant nobody in this school better go and look at those movies. So me, being this good girl I was, I'd go and sit in the bathroom. I'd bring my homework, and I'd go, because we came with Daddy into town for basketball games, football games. If the band was playing for a concert, which Mary and I were in, all of us girls were in, I think. But we all came with him at 6, went to the games, whatever, came back at 9, the movie was good, we'd watch it. If it was B, we'd go in the bathroom, fall asleep, or do homework until he was ready to come home.
Mrs. Ziem had a daughter, Verna Ziem, who helped manage the theater with her. The two roomed above the theater during the week, but went to their home in Crandon, Wisconsin on the weekend. Miss Ziem was also employed by the Pulaski School District as a freshman English teacher. Ziem was remembered as a very strict manager of the theater, according to the memories of Leonard Jarock and Judy Larschied.
She was very unique. She ran a theater just like she was a teacher. She'd come down the aisle with that flashlight, and she'd make the lovers, quote, quote, separate. Or she'd check the floors, and see if stuff, sometimes stuff was thrown, popcorn or whatever. And she would sometimes get right up in front of the screen and, let us know that we're not being a good audience. And she kept the, the laughing or the boo, she allowed that, but not just talking or making out.
Mrs. never came around too much. They lived above the theater during the week, and then they went back to Crandon for the weekend, and then they came back Sunday night because Miss Ziem had to teach the next day. She was my old English teacher at high school. She was a freshman English teacher.
Sunday afternoons were biggies for the kids because they weren't in school.
Mr. and Mrs. Otto Settle in 1954 became the new managers of the Pulaski Theater. They also owned a theater in Seymour, Wisconsin.
She was a very nice lady, but she was a strict lady, and he very rarely was there. I think he was running the place in Seymour. He was a real nice guy, and she was nice, but not to get on her wrong side. Well, like I say, Verna and her mother lived upstairs, and she probably just used it as a, when she was there at night and so forth, and slept over there, didn't go back to Seymour. And my family, being the Projectionist son, daughter, was able to get, free bags of popcorn and stuff.
Yeah.
But not candy. Because when they came, they made a little candy booth and stuff, and I think that was too expensive.
Yeah.
When the Settles bought it, I was like 16, and they would get films here or in Seymour, I don't know which. And like the first one was, I think we ran 2 movies. And after the first one was done, I'd get in the car, I was old enough to drive, and go down to Seymour with that film and bring the other film back, so that we, they shared films. Wasn't too bad in the summer or in the fall, but winter was kind of iffy, being only 16, because there weren't the really good roads. And oh, I forgot to tell you, right next to the theater on the north side was Margie Gajewski's sweet shop. Well, we could, I would go in there. My dad would give me a dime, 15 cents, whatever, and I'd check everything out, and suckers, and she had all kinds of candy in there.
Both Judy and Leonard remember getting their father ice cream from the Andersack ice cream shop across the street while their father worked the projector. They both remember him having a favorite ice cream. However, there is a discrepancy when we interviewed the siblings as to which was his favorite. Was it chocolate and vanilla, or was it maple nut? We may never know for sure.
And, while he was projecting, he had to be watching all the time. I'd go up there either after the first movie, I think after the first movie, and see if he wanted something, and he liked his ice cream. Now, Margie did not have ice cream, but Jack across the street on the corner did. And I would go and get a double scoop. He loved chocolate and he loved vanilla. So I'd go over there and she knew who it was for as soon as I got there. And that was also the dropping off place for the Press Gazette at Jack. And I was a paper boy, and the only day I didn't was Sunday. Then they used to have somebody at church, and when they came out, they were selling the Sunday newspapers, and they were thick. All I know is after school, I was on the route, and Sunday they didn't have one. There were like 4 or 5 or 6 of us that had routes on this side and that side and so forth.
Well, there were kind of 2 of them, because when we were at the theater, we had to go upstairs, and Dad, he wanted ice cream when the cartoon was running. So we always went up there after the major film was run, and we went to Marge's. She had candy, soda. She even had comic books and all different kinds. She made malts and that. And across the street was Jack's. And the theater helped, because when we didn't have candy there, kids would come out, they'd go and get their candy and come back in. I'm happy to have grown up in Pulaski. I know the kids, and it was a good life.
According to our records, the Pulaski Theater was in operation from 1940 to 1965. We'd like to thank Judy Larschied and Leonard Jarock for sharing their memories of the Pulaski Theater. Because of you, another piece of history is shared for generations to come.